Yes, good afternoon, all of you. So far we have discussed regarding to transactions and the concurrency control, how the concurrency control will be done, what are the different protocols or algorithms to control the concurrency while executing different kinds of transactions in database management system. So everything has been discussed and we have completed regarding to transactions issues and regarding to all other issues related to transactions here. Now today, we'd like to concentrate on the last concept of your unit number 5. That unit is that unit is. Let me go ahead and check the unit here. Yes, here your course will be seems like this, and here unit number 5 we have completed everything, and we are at the end, that is recovery management. And what are the different causes for recovery? What is the exact causes for recovery, and what recovery strategies we are supposed to use, and how transaction recovery could be taken into consideration. So will be discussed in this particular scenario. Okay, so these are the points which we'd like to concentrate on. But today, this recovery, not but this recovery management system will be taken approximately 3 classes. I mean 350 minutes will be taken. So after 350 minutes, we will enter into unit number 6, that is the indexing. Everything will be discussed in future. Okay, however, so let us continue without any delay. Let us continue with the database recovery management. Okay. So what actually the recovery will be, and how the recovery could be taken into consideration. Let us have a look here. So any computer system or any mathematical device or any electrical device or any electronic device, they are subjected to failure. Always they are not stable, they are subjected to failure. Okay, because they have been working on electricity, they have been working with different types of electrical devices. So electrical devices will be always subjected to failure because so they may be work with some number of units of time only. So that electrical devices will be subjected to failure. And then the failure might be, specifically speaking, in computer science or computer, the failures might be, so a disk might be crashed, or power will be gets failure, and the software could be get some kind of error. So and then user error, let me say, input may not be given in a proper time, and logical errors which will be done by the software because of not evaluating the bugs and all those things. All those these are the different reasons why failures will be gets occurred by any computer system. Basic reason is a disk crash. Disk crash might be happened out there, and this is the basic reason. And power failures, and then memory failures. Memory failures in the sense random access memory will be gets failed because of having huge power into that. Huge power is dumped out there. So this is one more kind of reasons why the failure will be gets occurred. And in the case of in each of these cases, information could be lost. I could not say maybe, so it could be lost. Information could be, there is a possibility to lose the information here. Okay, so why information will be lost in the sense power failure will be there. For example, you have been working with database management systems for the past 1 year, and for the past 1 year you did not face any power failure. But today, so you have performed some kind of operations on the database. So before going to commit point, the power will be gets failed. Obviously, whatever the operations you did at this moment so far, so the total entire operations will be lost, and you have to retake those operations one more time. Something like that will be gets happened out there. So sometimes the information might be lost. Sometimes information could not be lost. Okay. So there are possibilities are there to lost the information. There are possibilities are there not lost the information on there. Certainly, so disk crash will be gets happen. Information must be lost. Okay, 100% of information must be lost if you have any. So disk crash will be there with you. So to maintain all these things, either of this particular case or either of this particular case, database management system does have an integral part, with the database system, that is a recovery manager. That is the recovery manager. Recovery manager is being maintained by the database system. Therefore, that database system is as and when any failures will be get circuit, the database will be, this database recovery manager will be responsible to recover the or restore the database prior to that particular failure. Okay, prior to that particular failure, database must be considered as a consistent state. That must be a consistent state. So after consistent state, database will be get started its operations, and it is being executing for a while. During that execution of one particular transaction, so data, failure will be get occur. So from that particular place to previous consistent state, so the database must be taken by the recovery manager. It is the basic and more precious or prioritized job of recovery manager here. Okay. Then followed by recovery manager is responsible to have the transaction with atomicity and the durability. Atomicity, already we have discussed what is atomicity of a particular transaction. During execution of one particular transaction, no other transaction is being interleaved by the first transaction. If any interleaving can be happen, then atomicity could not be there. If interleaving cannot be there, then obviously atomicity has been followed by the transaction. That is the point which we have to learn, which we have learned during the discussion of atomicity. And the durability in the sense, so transaction must be there with the execution point of view until the commit point will be reached. All commit points must be executed or evaluated by that particular transaction. So these two are very, very important while transactions are being executed, and also recovery manager will also look forward for these two operations in transactions. These two operations are very much important while operating the recovery by using the recovery manager. So therefore, these two are very, very important. And what are the different kinds of failures which are being there? Recovery system. Why recovery system is required? These are the different cases where exactly recovery system is required. And what exactly the recovery manager will be expected? The recovery manager is expected to have the atomicity of that particular transaction and the durability of that particular transaction. These two must be required. Now, coming to the point regarding to how the failures will be classified. Failures will be classified into transaction failures, and these transaction failures will be done in two types. Two types of transaction failures will be occurred here. One is logical error. What exactly the logical error will be? So logical errors will be, most probable logical errors will be exceptions. Okay, exceptions are more and more probable errors. So most probable kind of transaction failures will be exceptions. In databases, there are several exceptions. So we haven't come across these exceptions in our PLSQL. Okay, we will see those exceptions after completion of this particular unit. We will get back to PLSQL, and we will also concentrate on the exceptions here. So this is one of the basic logical error which is being followed by any system, not exactly databases, any other systems. Something like exceptions, and improper data has been given as input, you are expected. I mean, system is expecting one kind of data, but you are giving some other kind of input will be given by you. No data found in the sense it is an exception. It is an exception. And then resources have been exceeds its limit. So probably printer can be used by only one particular process at any moment of time. If two or more processes will be fought for a particular printer, then one particular process must be put into wait state, and one particular process will be alert the printer. After completion of so the printer, the process which is being running right now, then second process will be continued. Something like that. Availability of the particular printer so could not be there in a proper way. So in those cases, so we would like to consider so the logical errors. So those logical errors are not that much crucial, but we can handle those errors because already in our particular languages, so exception handling, such kind of concept is there. You can handle that particular kind of thing. And nowadays, OLAP technique or data mining technique, using those techniques, so you can analyze the data before going to start the transaction. You can analyze whether the user has given proper input or improper input will be known by that particular transaction. So nowadays everything will be gets analyzed. So there is no problem regarding to this particular kind of error. So nowadays, okay. And second kind is system error. It is very serious error. First error is, of course, 60 to 70% of first error is being evaluated by taking care of different languages, front end languages such as Java, .NET, and all XYZ kind of operations. There is no problem at all. But second error is very crucial. This is very crucial. We would like to address this one. Of course, sometimes it could not be possible to address also. Those errors will be the system will be entered into undesirable state. That state is called as deadlock. If any deadlock will be gets occurred, obviously, so one particular process will be indefinitely in waiting state, so that that particular process or that particular transaction could not get any chance to execute by the CPU or database manager. So that is one kind of situation where exactly we would like to we would like to address here. So it could be gets addressed. It could be gets addressed in future while we are talking something about recovery system. Okay, these are the two different types of possibilities where exactly transaction will be gets failed when the logical error will be there and system errors will be encountered there, and followed by system crashes. Second possibility. First one is transaction error. Second possibility will be system crashes. System crashes will be majorly includes this one. So that is hardware failure. Hardware failure will be gets occurred in terms of disk failure, in terms of random access memory failure, in terms of network failure, in terms of bandwidth. Low bandwidth will be available when data is being transmitted over network. These are all hardware failures. And database software failure. Sometimes the database software cannot be installed properly so that you could not enter the data in a proper way. Or sometimes operating system itself will be providing some kind of error. Operating system is suddenly will be entered into halting state. When it is being halting while you are entering some kind of transaction, executing some kind of transaction, obviously your operation, the transaction will be temporarily halted so that you could not continue your operation or you could not continue the execution of your transaction. Okay, all these are different kinds of errors which will be comes with the system crashes. If system crash error will be there, then because of the system process, many companies, many MNCs have been maintaining the backup mechanism to recover the system from the system crashes or the hardware crashes, something like that. Okay. So contents of this permanent storage remains same when system failures will be gets occurred, because hardware will be gets failed, but your permanent storage cannot be failed. Database will be gets failed, but your permanent storage cannot be failed. Operating system will be failed, so that your permanent storage cannot be failed, so that it could be always remain safe for system crashes kind of failures. Whereas one more very serious problem, that problem is disk failure. If a disk failure will be gets occurred, so you must maintain 2 to 3 copies to get back the to recover the transaction. So with a single copy, if you have only one copy with you, obviously that copy will be gets damaged. You could not do any other thing. You must be collect the data again and have to perform the same operation one more time. It will be very much a risky process. It could not be done. It could not be the best solution when a disk failure will be get occurred. So that people will be perform some kind of backup operation, so that if one disk is gets failed, there is no problem. So another disk will be taken into consideration, and from that particular disk, operations will be continued. So disk failure is very serious, serious problem. While failures will be taken into consideration. How the disk failure will be gets occurred? Normally, every disk. Let me consider this is our disk, and when you have to format this particular disk, it could be divided into several number of tracks, and each track will be divided into some sectors, and the area where exactly cut this sector and the track will be called as this particular area is called as the cluster, the actual data block where exactly the data will be stored here. So if this data might be, I mean this area might be having some bad sectors. Okay, disk blocks will be having some kind of bad sectors. Obviously, you cannot retrieve the data from that particular bad sector. So this is one of the causes where exactly so the disk failure will be occurred. And because of this particular bad sector, so disk reading head will be get scratched. Disk reading head will be get scratched. If this will be there, obviously your disk cannot be, I mean, you could not retrieve even a single bit of information from that particular disk. Okay. Then, because of this reason, people will be performed what I quoted just below, just before. So that is a copies of data has been maintained by many companies. From other disks or backups from tapes will be used to recover the complete system. Okay, it must be. So that is why always people will be looking forward for the backup system, not exactly with the same location. They will be stored geographically somewhere else. If you believe or not, so for IBM and for what is that, Infosys and Wipro, for all these MNCs, HP also have the backup spaces, backup centers in Hyderabad. Okay, IBM is operating somewhere else in US, and HP also operating somewhere else in US. Infosys operating somewhere else in India. So Mysore, Bangalore, somewhere else, and Wipro has been operating right away from Noida, Gurgaon, somewhere else. So all these things have been put their backup centers in Hyderabad, because Hyderabad does not have any catastrophic failures. You could not expect any what you call earthquakes or huge floodings. Such kind of things are not there with Hyderabad. So that is why Hyderabad is the best place for backup centers. However, so from backups you could get back the data. So if you have any disk failures with you. So to do all these operations, how the storage structure will be, how the storage will be classified into. Storage will be classified into 3 types. Any database which must be required to store the data into storage devices. These will be classified into, broadly classified into 3. Number 1, volatile storage. Everybody have know what is volatile storage. Volatile storage in the sense, as long as power contents will be there, the volatile contents might have the data. If power contents will be lost, so volatile contents of storage area will be automatically lost the contents of data. Such kind of things will be called as volatile contents. So look at this. Volatile storage does not usually survive the system crashes. Survive in the sense, if system crash will be happen, do you get the data from volatile storage? The answer is no. It is not possible. Okay, so therefore, the volatile storages cannot be used for recovery. However, volatile storage accessing of volatile storage is extremely fast, extremely very good enough, because these are all these volatile storages have been maintained with the chips, microprocessors or microprocessor chips, something like this. All these chips are being very much close to microprocessor, so therefore addressing of the volatile storages are very faster when compared to all other kinds of storages out there. Okay. Then second one is non-volatile. Non-volatile will becomes, so the point which is related to non-volatile will be taken into consideration of all pen drives or DVDs or hard disks, everything, what not everything, which is able to store the data so permanently. So here the data, if you consider any kind of non-volatile, yes, non-volatile storage will be survive the system crashes. When system will be gets crashed, yes, you could get back the data from non-volatile storage, because so when power contents, even power contents will be lost, the contents of non-volatile will be there with them. So that is why it could be. And the third type is stable storage. Stable storage in the sense, in the stable storage, you never ever so lost the data. Okay, you could not lost the data uncovered forever. Best example for stable storage is RAID, redundant array of inexpensive disks. Redundant array of inexpensive disks. Okay, RAID is one particular technology. This could be used in SAN, storage area network. It could be used in SAN. So RAID is high performed hard disks are being connected to RAID, so that you could have such a faster device which is able to store the data in a specific area with a I mean extremely fast kind of data transferring rate. Okay, so these are the three different types of storage structures where exactly we have to use. So people are using non-volatile storage. These are very much cheap to purchase and very much cheap to install also. Stable storages are very costly affair. But once we have to store the data in stable storages, obviously that could be always permanent, and no crashes will be done in a stable storage out there. Okay. Then we are entering into actual database recovery. So already we have discussed this particular log, what is log and how this log will be. Already we have discussed in the previous classes. Even then, like to consider. So normally, not only database in operating systems or anywhere else in software industry, log will be maintained. If anything, any transaction will be done. So before going to execute the transaction, what operations are going to be executed will be written onto the log first, then execution will be get started. Okay, that could be there. So log is a sequence of records will be maintained with a file name, also called as a log here. Okay, so these records are always most probable operation with the log will be update. So as far as database management system, it is called as update. As far as other management systems, it is called as writing onto the disk. Writing onto the disk. As far as database management system, yes, we have one specific name for that one, that is updating. Okay. Using databases, we maybe perform some kind of operations. These operations might be update operations. And log might contain the following fields. These are the fields. Number one, transaction ID. The transaction ID, which could be always holds the which transaction is being executing at this particular point. And secondly, data item ID. What kind of data item which is being making change in the database, and then followed by what is the old value of that particular database item, and the new value of the database item will be maintained. And also there are certain kinds of events which are being running with the log. Those events will be begin of the transaction. Then the transaction will be processed with X. I mean, what is the value which we have to, what is the value which we have to process, and what is the initial value, otherwise old value, and what is the new value after updating. So will be there, and then followed by transaction will be gets committed or not, followed by transaction will be aborted or not. U is not there actually somewhere else, so I don't know why it has become aborted or not. So already we have seen what are the different characteristics of a transaction in the previous lectures. Okay, a transaction might be bugging, a transaction might be change its value from one state to another state. A transaction must be commit. Once commit will be happen, there is no problem with the transaction, and the transaction will be aborted. So because of some failures, because of some failure reasons, transaction must be aborted. If commit will be there, if commit will be there with you, so transaction could not be aborted. If aborted will be there, there is a possibility to have the commit, but it is not guaranteed. It is not guaranteed to have the so commit here. So these are different kinds of events which are associated with transactions here. Okay, so this is the class today. So we would like to design some kind of transactions with the logs, and how the logs are being manipulated while things are being going happen within the recovery, and how the things will be gets rolled back, and how the things will be gets evaluated. Everything will be look into the matter by tomorrow and the day after tomorrow's class. Next class, and we'll finish off. So just wait for 1 moment. I will take the attendance. I will collect the attendance. I'm collecting the attendance. 1 moment, please. Yeah. So